entire Spider-Man Sony Disney debacle is absolutely complicated with a capital C, y'all. With rights, ownership, and arguments over one single character, things are absolutely hectic behind the closed doors. Are you confused about this whole thing? Well, that's what we're here for. What's up, everybody? It's Leo Rydell here to tell you everything you need to know about Spider-Man, Sony, Disney, and this entire deal. But before we dive in, be sure to smash that subscribe button and ding that bell to get the geekliest, goodiest videos straight to those notifications. Alright, let's dive in. Let's dial that clock all the way back to 1969. Okay, it wasn't that far back, but I had to say something. Director, writer, and author Donald F. Glut created a fan film titled Spider-Man. Simple name, where Spider-Man takes on the villain Dr. Lightning in 12 minutes. Woo! Go Spidey! Moving on to 1977, CBS released a made-for-television film that served as a pilot for the 70s Amazing Spider-Man series. Now, I know a lot of you guys remember this one, especially my big Spidey fans. The series starred Nicholas Hammond as Spider-Man with some super cheesy dialogue, stunts, cheesy everything. But it was fun and still remembered by many Spider-Man fans. Turning that clock ahead to 1985, superhero films were kind of tanking. They were falling out of popularity after the failure of Superman 3. We all know about that disaster. Marvel gave Canon Films the option to create a film based on Spider-Man with quite the deal. Canon Films would pay Marvel $225,000 over a 5-year period. Plus, they would get a cut of any of the films. However, if a film wasn't made by 1990, the rights would return to Marvel. Sadly, after a heavy debacle, the Canon Films Spider-Man movie never saw the light of day. I mean, there was a lot of work that went into this, you guys. Canon Films spent $2 million on 10 different scripts. That's right, not one, not two, 10, and none of them panned out. A series of lawsuits followed, and it gets kind of jumbly here, so I'm just going to leave it at that. The film rights to Spider-Man ended up in the hands of MGM, yes, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. But Columbia, aka Sony, wanted Spidey a lot. Eventually, after another series of suits with MGM and Viacom, Marvel came out of bankruptcy and settled with the companies to secure the Spidey film rights again. Marvel sold the rights for Spider-Man to Sony for a reported $7 million, which you can say Sony got their money's worth from that deal, seeing as Spider-Man Far From Home just made over $1 billion. So that's how we got introduced to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. Let's jump into the year 2000. A good chunk of people remember the Raimi trilogy as their first big exposure to Spider-Man. Now, I read the comics when I was a little bit younger than this, but film-wise, TV-wise, I also watched the Fox series, but man, in terms of film, that was definitely my first exposure. With the movies lining up villains like Green Goblin and Doc Ock for Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man to take on in an original film universe, it established a large presence for Spider-Man in film. We won't talk too much about that third one, though. Oof, what a mess. After Spider-Man 3, Sam Raimi planned for a Spider-Man 4 and 5, with plans of casting John Malkovich as Vulture and Anne Hathaway making her a new version of Felicia Hardy, who would play Vultress, aka Vulture's daughter, instead. Unfortunately, Sony scrapped that project in favor of a reboot of the movie series, and that is where Mark Webb's series, The Amazing Spider-Man, comes in. We're now in 2012, and this new series stars Andrew Garfield. This series was a little bit closer to the comics, but still pretty original. Mark Webb and Andrew Garfield both committed to a third film, but not a fourth. And because of the poor reception of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, the series Amazing Spider-Man did not continue. Yikes. That brings us to our most recent incarnation of Spider-Man in film, Tom Holland. Around this time, Marvel had set up Marvel Studios and created their own films around the Avengers cast of characters. Disney later purchased Marvel Studios in 2009. Jumping ahead to 2014, Amy Pascal, the head of Sony Pictures at the time, began negotiating a deal with Marvel to share Spider-Man with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. At the same time, however, Sony was also considering a Sinister Six movie, but after some email hacks exposed info to the public, The agreement with Marvel became priority. After many lengthy discussions, all parties agreed to move forward with a new reboot. And in 2016, Tom Holland's Spider-Man made his debut in Captain America: Civil War.
Under ruse!
He would later go on to star in the 2017 film Spider-Man: Homecoming. Sony Pictures distributed the film and paid for it, so Sony got the box office from Homecoming. However, Disney got to have Spider-Man in 5 different films: Civil War, Homecoming, Infinity War, Endgame, and Far From Home. And Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios would select the actors, directors, and create the movies in their own style. The exact percentages of the deal are unknown, but Deadline Hollywood reported that Disney gets a 5% cut of gross revenue from the film. Any of the Spider-Man films, I'm saying. Okay, fast forward to today, 2019. And in this current debacle, Kevin Feige is refusing to produce any more Spider-Man films due to a very big disagreement. Disney approached Sony and asked that future Spider-Man films be a 50-50 co-financing agreement. Sony flat out turned down the offer. It was reported that Disney even reapproached with a 70-30 agreement, and Sony still wouldn't budge. Dang, talk about stubborn. I thought I was stubborn. Tom Holland spoke at D23, pretty much confirming the news is true, and that Spider-Man will be out of Disney's hands, but he's still locked in and he's ready to go. Both Tom Holland and Zendaya, however, have unfollowed Sony on Instagram. Sounds like they're really not that happy. New rumors have emerged saying that Sony and Disney could be close to an agreement after all, however, and Spidey could stay with Disney. Fingers crossed, guys, let's hope. Okay, that was a lot. Did I miss anything? Oh yeah, did you know there was a Japanese Spider-Man? Amazing. Hopefully Sony and Disney reach an agreement, but that's all for now. What do you guys think about this whole debacle between Sony, Disney, and these Spider-Man rights? Do you think that Sony and Disney should just come to an agreement and keep making these Tom Holland movies? Let us know down in the comments, guys. We'll see you next time on Geekly Goods. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow Geekly Goods on all social media platforms, and grab something from our store. We take $1 of every purchase and donate it to arts education to keep arts in the classrooms. We'll see you next time.